Anything much been going on today? Quite a quiet day in the rugby world, isn't it? No, Owen Farrell, we finally got his ban. It's 4 games and he will miss, well, the game last weekend was classed, the game against Fiji, and 2 of England's 4 World Cup pool games, and significant ones as well against Argentina and Japan. There we go. Let's dive into this one, which has been a red button issue. Lots to talk about. And yeah, I don't have a fingerprint left on my finger after hitting refresh all day long. 13 hours after the disciplinary appeal hearing started, we finally got word of Owen Farrell's punishment. End of the matter? No, far from it. There's still a lot of conjecture going on, still a lot of strong opinions being shared. So yeah, let's get into it. Here we go. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers, and please leave your comments. Get stuck in. I love reading the comments. I love being challenged. I love hearing what you think, and I want plenty of it on this particular topic. If you haven't already, I hope I earn you a subscription on this video. I'm going to separate what I talk about into facts and opinion, because I think that's important. But before I get into either of those, I just want to remind us all, just remind myself as much as anything, it's 17 days until the Rugby World Cup, the biggest shop window that our sport has, a sport that certainly in England, where I live, we've been going through a really tough time. And I'm not talking about the performance of the national team on the pitch, I'm talking about the sport as a whole, existential issues, financial woes, and that's also shared across the world in many nations. So this is our opportunity to bring new fans in, to tell the world how great this game is and get as many people as we can participating in it. And we've got a brilliant opportunity to do that with a fantastic game 2 weeks before the start of the World Cup, South Africa v New Zealand at Twickenham, with tens of thousands of people going to be packed in there to see the biggest rivalry in the sport. And yeah, I hope that very soon we can just put a full stop after this and just focus on the rugby, the characters, the people. Anyway, let's get into it then. Facts. Owen Farrell received a red card 2 Saturdays ago, it was now, when he had put a high tackle in on Tame Basham, upgraded to a red by the new TMO bunker. Then 1 week ago, the disciplinary hearing, which exonerated him of that red card and downgraded it back to a yellow, sent the internet into a tailspin. The panel made up of 3 Australians. I'm pretty sure that's actually them. The guys on the panel, and yeah, meltdown. And World Rugby, a couple of days after, announced that they would appeal that decision, and that hearing has just concluded, and a 4-game ban is what we're seeing now. I don't know if people involved in hearings, lawyers and whatnot, get paid by the hour, but if they do, this will be them right now as well, because yeah, went on long enough. But then again, I would rather things went on and took their time but got to the right conclusion than rushed it and then bodged it, which ironically is what the TMO bunker was introduced to do. Funny that, hey? Right, before I shift into opinion, and I do have some, I just want to say a few things that I believe to be true. So these are in between facts and opinion. I think these are true statements. Tell me what you think. And many things can be true at the same time. For example, true, Owen Farrell committed an offence worthy of a red card. Right, all agreed? 2, the panel downgraded to a yellow are not sufficiently well versed in the laws and their current application. Clearly, because the appeal stood. So all the complaining about England using a high-level lawyer or anything like that is completely irrelevant next to the fact that this panel were not able to do the job that they were there to do. And that is on World Rugby to sort out, or Six Nations, or whichever administrative organisation is looking after these panels. They've got to sort that out, because all we want is consistency. And the last thing we want is a thing like this dragging on for 10 days. It's a joke. True. Owen Farrell is one of the nicest guys you'll meet and a tremendous rugby player and ambassador for our sport. That's a true statement, I believe. True. The personal stuff aimed at Owen Farrell has been beyond the pale at times, and it demonstrates that when people get behind a keyboard, sometimes they behave in ways they would never do in real life. And those rugby values we talk about, respect, humility, at times were, well, at times I was kind of a bit depressed looking at it all. One, because we weren't enjoying the rugby that was there, and there's some great rugby to talk about, but secondly, because I actually want to believe that those rugby values are things that we bring to life all the time. And you know what, for the most part, rugby does. But it looked a little bit ugly. Another true statement, I believe, world rugby processes, frameworks, and even laws are way more complicated than they need to be. The fact you even need lawyers involved at all, and clearly you do, because you're getting into the weeds. And yeah, as I say, the result is inconsistency. And onto my opinions then. So, I think it was a red card offence. Said that all along. I think it was clumsy. I don't think it was deliberate or dirty. It was technical, poor technique for which a red card should have been given, was given, and inexplicably was removed, and now has been introduced, causing massive amount of disruption and a lack of focus on what we should be focused on, and just opening up the complete mess of the procedure involved in our sport. There was some suspicion today when you were just looking online at what people were saying. How can this be taking so long? It was obviously a red card. What are they doing? What you got to remember is this. I've just realised I've got a Scrooge McDuck up on the screen behind me all this time. This was not a retrial. This was an appeal, and the bar was very high in order to apply a ban and a red card to Owen Farrell. Not because it wasn't a red card offence. It was, and we all agree it was. But because what this appeal was about was identifying a flaw in the panel's process. And World Rugby, the appeal was purely on the grounds that they hadn't mentioned the 3 Australian panellists. Where are they again? Those 3 Australian panellists did not mention the lack of a wrap of Owen Farrell's arm. And that was the only technicality by which a red card and a ban has been introduced. Had these Australian panellists said, "Oh yeah, we looked at his arm and we thought it was wrapped enough," Owen Farrell would not have been banned, and it would not be a red card. Again, this just exposes the ridiculousness of the process, but that is what happened today, and that might explain why it took so long. But again, I'd rather they took their time and got to the right result, annoying as it was. There was a point earlier when I was like, do I go to the gym? Or do I wait for it's meant to be coming at 5:30 UK time? And I went to the gym thinking I was going to miss out on it, but as it is, I had loads of time. Right, back to Owen Farrell. There's now lots of negative sentiment about this 4-game ban that's been introduced, as if this is some sort of stitch up, because there's claims now that it's lenient because Farrell didn't show remorse, and that was what World Rugby said. They said that it's a 6-game mid-entry point for this offence, knocked down by 2 games because of remorse and accepting the red card. Now, a lot of people are saying, how can they apply this remorse thing now? Because he contested it at the hearing in the first place. He didn't show remorse. Now, if you read the report from last week, which I did, there was acknowledgement of foul play. Owen Farrell said, or his representatives on his behalf said, by the World Rugby framework, they accept it was high, they accept it was dangerous, they accept all of that. It was like, yes, they accept it met the red card threshold. They just questioned, but was there mitigation by World Rugby's own little framework down here in their little framework flowchart? And the panel agreed. That doesn't mean he wasn't accepting that he had made a high tackle. That was illegal by the 3 out of the 4 standards in World Rugby's framework. So I think the 4-game ban is reasonable. And I think some of the response to the ban now is unreasonable. And I say that because many of the people that are saying that this is a stitch up and it should have been longer and all the rest of it, wouldn't have said the same thing 1 week ago if the original decision was a 4-game ban. I think they would have accepted it, much in the same way as there was a lot of people who, for a second, raised an eyebrow at Johnny Sexton getting, what was it, 6-game ban reduced to 3 for his behaviour towards a referee at the Champions Cup final. A lot of people went, that doesn't smell right, but okay, fine, on we go. I think it would have been exactly the same with Owen Farrell. So to start really making a big fuss now, I think is wrong. Andy Farrell called the circus surrounding Owen the last 10 days disgusting. I'm inclined to agree. I don't like the personal stuff. And so I'm going to finish. Now, look, before I say any of this, it was a red card. Owen Farrell has had red cards before. This is his first red card in international rugby. And a lot of people bring up the Andre Esterhazy one in 2018. If you actually go back, that may have been a penalty, maybe a yellow card. That was never a red card in 2018. And international rugby players and referees agree. But anyway, I'm getting off into the weeds. Point is, that was his first red card at international rugby. He deserved this red. And a 4-game ban is a significant punishment. The disruption of the last 10 days alone to the England camp so close to a World Cup is massive. He's their captain. And there has been a huge amount of pressure applied to an England team that are performing really badly. So I'm glad it's over. I think what's happened today is reasonable, the right result, and hopefully we can move on. Now, with all that said, it was a red card and stuff. I am going to stick up for Owen Farrell because I love him. And I think we're at a World Cup. And if we can't celebrate the characters in our sport, then I don't know what we're doing here. I see potentially what started as... well, like I say, it's been a bit of a circus around him. But I just want to... Have you ever seen Owen Farrell doing that? When he scores points. He does it for Saracens. He does it for England. And what that is joining Jack. Jack Johnson, JJ, 14-year-old kid now, has a muscle wasting disease for which there is no cure. And for years and years now, Owen Farrell has been a massive supporter of that charity and makes that gesture when he scores in support of Jack, raises money for him, had him there as his guest on the field for Owen Farrell's 100th cap against New Zealand. What was that, last autumn? There's Jack. And I only say this now, not to take away. I'm not trying to say Owen Farrell didn't deserve a red card, didn't deserve a ban. I'm just trying to add a bit of balance. He's a good bloke who made a clumsy tackle and has made a few in his career. He's a good bloke. He's one of the characters that we should be celebrating at a Rugby World Cup. He is a role model. People like to say horrible things about him. He's a role model. He's a good bloke. And another measure of his character and relevant to red cards. Do you remember this in the 2019 World Cup? John Quill of America in one of the pool games, USA v England, got a red card for a high tackle on Owen Farrell. Brutal as well. It was like shoulder barge to the head. Owen Farrell made a statement at John Quill's disciplinary hearing saying, please be lenient with John. It was an accident. And maybe Owen Farrell was thinking, well, that might help me in the future if I make a mistake. But actually, I just think it signals that he's a good bloke that plays rugby in the right way. And another advocate of that is Nigel Owens, who agreed that it should have been a red card and will be happy with the outcome, but also said that Owen Farrell presented him with a shirt and went and gave him a massive hug after Nigel Owens' 100th test match. Point being, let's not beat up on what are people of amazing character who play our sport. And so Owen Farrell will be back and part of the World Cup, and I'm delighted about that because I'm English and he's our captain and I think he's an amazing player, but for the Rugby World Cup. And this is now a story that hopefully can be maybe, and I'm selfishly here, maybe this will be some sort of hero's journey arc that Owen Farrell is embarking on. I don't expect that to be the case because I'm not expecting England to do anything particularly significant in this World Cup, but there we go. That one put to bed. Tell me what you think in the comments. Please hit subscribe. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers, and I will see you on the next video.